But yeah, but here's the deal: like the whole row, even though we were Cardinals fans, what did I just say?
What?
What the hell?
We hope you keep that in, Dolan. Keep that in.
Right? That's horrible. Dolan, never ever use that.
Inspired by the adventures of our nurses, therapists, and techs, A Beer with Atlas is the only healthcare traveling, craft beer drinking podcast. Each week, we'll open a few beers, talk about the brewery and the style of beer, and then dive into some research curated specifically for each episode. In the end, we hope each one sounds like a conversation you'd have with your friends while enjoying a few cold ones.
Man, welcome to another episode of A Beer with Atlas. I'm Rich.
I'm still at home. I'm Brian.
And I'm Dolan.
I'm super not excited about today's episode because it's a beer from our friend Aaron Biddle in St. Louis. It's called Number 6 Classic American Lager. Number 6 was Stan Musial. He was St. Louis Cardinal. It was the 100th birthday. Stan passed away a few years ago, but to celebrate the 100th birthday of Stan the Man, a company, a brewing, a beer, what am I trying to say? A brewery?
A brewery, yeah, that's what I think.
One of those things. We never talked about those things. A brewery in St. Louis called Urban Chestnut did a special beer just for old Number 6, Stan Musial. And so sadly, that's what we're going to talk about today is the St. Louis Cardinals and this beer.
So that's why you're not excited. Not the beer. It's just the Cardinals tie-in.
Look, I'm always excited to drink beer. You know what? I have a feeling I'm going to like this. I have a feeling it's going to be good, and that will make me sad inside because I just want this to taste like Busch Stadium urine, quite honestly. And I want to hate it with every fiber of my being.
Wow. Maybe it will.
Won't. Maybe it will. I don't know. But I want to be fair to Urban Chestnut. Yeah. Located at 3229 Washington Ave in St. Louis. I want to be fair to them. I want to because they sound like a pretty good place. They sound like good dudes, and maybe that's just it's just a product of who they are, and being in St. Louis there, and I guess you have to be a Cardinals fan if you live there.
Can you tell Dolan what your shirt says?
My shirt says "Jorts and bad beer." That's what St. Louis does.
Shots fired.
Wow.
There you go. I don't actually wear this in St. Louis. I think I get punched in the mouth.
That's when you wear it in Chicago or something?
Absolutely. I wear it in Chicago, and I get all kinds of high fives and free beers. Like, that's right. Boom, high five. So, bad beer, not referring to Urban Chestnut here. Not at all. We're referring to
those macro guys.
Yeah, to the big boys, the one big boy there who isn't even owned they're owned overseas now. So
the game has changed.
It has. What the heck? I'm back to spilling beer again.
See, you talk so much smack about it that it got its revenge. I did some research today, and this is going to surprise no one. It's on Stan the Man, Stan Musial. So at the end of this, I have a feeling that you're going to change your tune, and you're going to love Stan Musial.
I was going to save this until the end, but I'll talk about it right now. My dad's favorite baseball player was Stan Musial. So he grew up a Cardinals fan. He was born in St. Louis.
Wow.
But he appreciated my love of baseball. He appreciated that I was a Cubs fan, that because of WGN, and I have very fond memories of at the end of his life when he was sick. It was right around the same time. It was right at the same time actually of the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run race.
Yeah,
and so one of the last things that we consistently talked about was who hit a home run yesterday. Was Sammy ahead? Was McGwire ahead? That was so in that vein that will always be with me, and having that tie back to the Cardinals.
It's kind of crazy to think about how involved even non-baseball people were during that chase, that home run. It literally was news, like water cooler topic every morning. Oh my gosh, he hit 2 and then he hit 1, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
Well, Dolan, you got your beer? Are you ready?
I've got it all poured.
All right, I got nice glassware. I have mine
excellent
poured
glass.
too.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna give it a sniff. It smells like a lager. Rich has got his glass.
It's a very clean looking golden color.
Oh yeah.
So the description on this says it's a classic American lager with a recipe that predates Prohibition.
Yeah, like our local Lucky Bucket pre-prohibition lager, I'm guessing.
This
that's good.
Nothing against Lucky Bucket, but I think this is a better pre-prohibition lager. No, I've had my share of that before, and this is clean, man. This is pretty tasty.
Tastes like beer that was made when Stan was playing.
Yeah,
like that was beer. You weren't getting no double IPA or pastry sour stout.
Yeah, there's no raspberries in this.
Yeah,
no.
There's just grain in
this
water.
Beer's beer.
That's right.
What kind of beer you want? Beer flavored beer?
Give me a beer, and that's what you got. You got any information on the brewery there, Rich?
I certainly do. So, this is interesting, and I kind of give a double take, right? A whole Brian.
Oh yeah,
one of those double takes right there for those of you watching on the YouTubes. 3 locations: the Grove. These are all in St. Louis. The Grove, Midtown Biergarten. So very German looking, right? Biergarten. And then, Brian, you love this, the URB Pizza and Beer location. So pizza by the slice with your beers.
Yum.
Sounds like somewhere we need to go.
I could do a slice and a beer like each time. I could really put a hurt on that place.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then they have a 4th location called Hallertau Brewery.
Yeah.
Okay. Brauerei Brewery.
Yeah.
There we go. In Germany, near the brewmaster's home. So they're brewing beer in the homeland.
So the brewmaster of the brewery lives in Germany?
He lived in Germany.
Oh, he's from there. Okay.
From there. And so then they have a location there in Germany.
I feel like Hallertau is the name of a hop too, or something like that. Is it?
It is. It's a fun one to say. I like that one.
Okay. I thought so. I knew that sounded familiar.
I almost wonder if it's like a region or something. I didn't do any research on that, but like it's a region of Germany, or it's like, that's why they call those hops that come from there that.
Yeah, I would guess so.
Urban Chestnut is this came right from their website, an unconventional-minded yet traditional-oriented brewer of craft beer with authentic heritage and proven quality. So they say they're pretty, they're pretty good. I like the unconventional yet traditional. You would think those two things
don't combine.
No, somehow they do, though.
Yeah.
We like to call our unique brewing philosophy beer divergence. So old world meets new world brewing. New world meets old world brewing.
Yeah, new techniques, old recipes maybe, or old styles in a new way. I don't know. It's kind of fun.
One of the things that they're super proud of, and we've seen this with a few other breweries. Our friends in DC at Atlas Brewworks are, a big solar powered brewery, and we've seen some here in Omaha that use their spent grain to feed cattle and that type of thing. These guys are all in with the environment and supporting local nonprofits, water conservation, recycling, composting, spent grain, solar power. In 2015, they became LEED certified. They were the first LEED certified brewery in Missouri. And I didn't know anything about this until our friends at Ameritrade down the street here became LEED certified. So there's it's a pretty strict kind of set of rules, saying that everything you do there is environmentally friendly. From, collecting, they have on the top of their building, they have the big water collection. When it rains, they collect the water, and that's what they use all like the urinals and the toilets and stuff like that. They reuse all that water. There's a lot of natural lighting instead of lights like this, any kind of tube lights or LEDs or anything like that. But yeah, they were the first LEED certified brewery in Missouri, and one of only a handful to be certified in the country. So
I got to think that's expensive.
Yeah, and
it was at least at the beginning.
It was probably way more expensive 5 years ago than it is now.
Yeah,
it's expensive to get LEED certified, but after, I guess it saves you money in the long run. I don't know, but it's better for the planet. I mean, that's the best. I mean, that's the main reason, right?
I guess, Dolan.
Maybe. 2017, so 3 years ago, they were named one of the EPA's 16 national Wastewise award winners. Wastewise award winner. That's a fun little phrase. For sustainability efforts, earning a small business partner of the year. So not only in their own community have they been recognized, but then they've been recognized there throughout the country. So not only are they trying to do things their way and using old world methods and new world techniques and all that, but they're trying to save the environment as well. So make beer, save the environment, eat some pizza.
That's pretty good. Yeah, pretty good combo.
I can do all that stuff.
Well, it'd be nice. It'd be easier, It's the easiest way to do those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Dolan's holding his glass up here. Dolan, what do you think? Because I think we've this is as traditional, I think, as you could possibly get from a lager. Is this what you think of when you think of a lager?
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, I would crush these at a baseball game anytime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, what's the term they use? You guys always say crushable.
Crushable.
Yes.
Yeah. This is crushable. This is great for barbecuing. This is great for baseball, any sport, really. This is great for just on the couch, relax. This is great for anything, really.
I'm looking up. I don't want to see the Untapped rating yet, but I do want to see the ABVs because I'm going to guess this is somewhere in the 4.5s.
Yeah,
maybe?
I bet
Yeah,
it
probably
tops out at 5. That's my guess.
Okay. Oh, I'm in the 4.5s, 4.5.
Nice.
Yep. So, I mean, you're looking at a Budweiser, right?
Yeah.
Better tasting. Well, probably a Bud Light. I think Budweiser's like 5.4. So yeah, almost a light lager.
There you go.
I guess I'll start off at the unexpected place.
Okay.
Chestnuts. Urban Chestnut Brewery.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is a chestnut? I know about them. I've heard the name. If you know me at all, you'll know I'm a Christmas music aficionado. And there's a Christmas song where that's in the first line of the song. So that's what instantly came to my mind. But I wanted to do a little bit of research about chestnuts because it's just not something, I mean, you hear about them, but I didn't really know anything about what it was. And that's where we're going to go first. So a chestnut is in the beech tree family, and it is in the type of tree where the leaves fall at the end of the year. Some trees keep their leaves all the time, and this family loses leaves, and then the nuts come out of the tree as well. Usually you peel them and you can just eat them straight up, but they're what they say is astringent. So a little bit bitter and not the best, just peeled right out of the shell. So the best way to really prepare these is to roast them. And that's what you'll hear of. That's in the Christmas song, chestnuts roasting on the open fire. I've tried to figure out how that would happen. And basically what you do, you take a big knife and you just kind of chop a line into it. And then you can just throw them straight into a fire or in a pan over heat. Because if you don't open that shell, they will explode. Basically, what's inside will just get so hot, it will just blow up the shell. So you have to score it to make room for, like steam or whatever to come out of there so it doesn't explode in your face or your kitchen or your campfire, wherever you're at. When you're done cooking them, when they're roasted, it says they have a similar texture to a baked potato. so kind of flaky. You know what I mean? Not lumpy, but just like connected together. Like it can, if that makes sense. I haven't had a baked potato in a while, but
Have you ever had the boiled peanuts?
no, I wish I would.
That's
Like a Southern thing.
Yeah, and I've had it, and it's weird. Like if you've never had boiled peanuts before, it's strange. And so I'm wondering if the texture is the same.
Is it like a bean? Like I would assume that if you boiled a peanut, it'd be like a bean, like a kidney bean.
It's in like hot oil, right, Rich?
Yeah, yeah.
So they're like crispy, like the shell's real crunchy, right?
Well, I've had it that way. I've also had it just like they throw them in water, right? They just boil them in water. And so then the shell's super soft, and you pop them open, and the peanut itself is like mushy, kind of like textury, thicker mush.
Huh?
I don't know.
Doesn't it make a mess?
Oh yeah.
I wonder what's the point. I don't know. I don't get it.
Does it taste that much different? I mean, is it just a texture thing?
No. I mean, the texture is definitely different, but it definitely does. It tastes like you're eating peanuts, but your brain isn't processing like, oh, these are peanuts because it's mushy.
Like halfway to peanut butter?
Yeah. And it's hot. Like they're hot.
Interesting.
I'd like to try it. I know one of the things I saw at the beginning of the COVID stuff was like how people were going to get their roasted peanuts, like down south, like because that's like a big snack thing. You can get them at like shops and stands and gas stations and all that stuff. So there was like people were kind of freaking out about how am I going to get my roasted peanuts and like my boiled nuts. I was like, okay,
Weird.
Everybody's got their thing. I know that, and I've done this before. Some peanuts in a Coke is great.
Yes.
Really?
That's great. Oh,
that's a thing too. It's a Southern thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a Southern thing too. And you just throw the whole shell, peanut, and everything in there, just right in the bottom of your glass or your can or bottle. Oh yeah, let them sit there for a couple minutes. Super good.
Do you pull them out and then peel them and then eat them, or
you can eat it at the end if you want to? Sure, but it's mostly just a flavor enhancer, and it really does. It's noticeable. You get a little salt, and you get that roasted, nutty kind of aroma, and it actually does do something, which is kind of weird and good. So if you have a chance, try it sometime. Chestnuts kind of look like what you would think of as a Buckeye, like an Ohio State Buckeye, like that sort of nut. That's kind of what a chestnut looks like. It's a little bit smaller. In America, they are smaller. In Europe, they have different kind of tree, and the nut itself is bigger. The big way that these are consumed, I guess I would say, is in candied versions, especially in Europe. So places like France, Spain, there was another, I think down South America also has a thing, but basically what they'll do is they will pick up the nut in the fall, and then they let them dry out all the way until the next summertime. So they're sitting there, let's say 6 months. And then in the summer, then they shell them, do all that stuff, roast them up, and then they put like sugar or candied substance in with them. And then that sits for 4 or 5 months until about Christmas time. And then that's when you eat them. So it's like a 1.5-year process, but they're traditionally known as like a Christmas treat. So old 1800s books, stories, songs, some of the Christmas songs that are written that have it in there. That's why it's up around that time, is because that's when you would traditionally eat it. Sometimes you would even see them on a fruitcake back in the day. So that's one of the things that you might see in an old like Victorian era recipe for a fruitcake or something. It's chestnuts. They're huge in France. They kind of showed up around the 16th century as something that people would eat, because for a long time they were just fed to like hogs and cattle in France and England and stuff. And then in the 1800s, it really kicked off into England too. And then it moved over into the United States as well. So it's kind of been around for a long time, but it's not something that you can just, I don't think, go to the store and be like, hey, give me a half a pound of chestnuts. I haven't seen that.
During Christmas, I've seen that maybe because they come in like the kind of fishnet looking bag. Maybe
Maybe
I'm making that up. I don't know.
Maybe at place like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or
Yeah.
Oh,
probably
a
find
fancy
them.
spot.
Not where I get my groceries at the Walmart.
Yeah, they might not have them there, but maybe, who knows? I was talking earlier about animals that how they fed them. This was like a food source for cattle, basically in Asia and in Europe. Some of our American friends, animal friends, like to eat them too. So they're a big food source for blue jays. They'll crack those open and eat those. Pigeons, wild boars down south, like wild pigs will eat these. Deer and squirrels. So your neighborhood animals, if they can get to these, they would like to eat them. The wood itself from the tree is very hard, and it's very similar to oak. So a lot of furniture and things like that was made in the late 1700s, 1800s out of this wood because it was pretty impervious to weather elements. So it was really good to build your outside of your house with, or any sort of furniture, things like that. It holds up to water pretty well. And then it's a little bit lighter in color than oak. That's kind of how you can tell the difference, something that's made out of oak versus this. And then I just picked out a few different places in quote unquote pop culture, old pop culture, where chestnuts are brought up. It's in 1984 book, George Orwell. I think the pigs are always trying to eat chestnuts, or they're talking about chestnuts. It's in the Christmas song, specifically. If you check out Nat King Cole's version, he has probably one of the best versions of that song. It's the very first line. It's in Macbeth, the Shakespeare play. And then Dr. Evil and Austin Powers even brings him up, talking about how, yes, that one, how his dad was just kind of a weird dad. And he, quote, accused chestnuts of being lazy, unquote.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. It was just, when he was talking about how he just never got any love from his dad, and that was one of the reasons, one of the explanations for that. So that's what I know about chestnuts.
So for our Budweiser drinking fans out there, hopefully there's none of you. The Beechwood should sound familiar, right?
Beechwood aging.
Yeah,
it's expensive.
If you go to the Budweiser, if you do the tour, which I've done 3-ish times, I believe, every time we've gone, we take some travelers out and we go do the Budweiser tour because it's fun. It's history. There's a ton of history there, especially around Prohibition and that type of thing. But then you get to go. You're in. It's probably stop 3, where all the holding tanks are, and it's enormous, and they have Beechwood out there, and so. You can smell it and feel it, and you can definitely tell it's a harder kind of wood.
And is it just like shards of it, or like shredded pieces of wood, or how does that?
Real thin, kind of like almost planks, but it's just like roughly chopped.
Okay.
That type of thing. And then there's there's little chunks or whatever that break off. But yeah, they're probably, I don't know, and maybe 3/4 of an inch, maybe in like a little plank-ish looking.
It's kind of cool they still do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they wouldn't probably technically have to do that. They could probably get like some sort of extract that would taste like that.
Well, and quite honestly, if you ever did the tour, we only saw like 3 people, like physical, like actual people working.
Dang.
In like, everything else was computerized. Everything else was, when you went to the brew tanks or whatever, there was one dude like on an iPad, like walking through, making sure. And there were monitors. There was like computer screens on every one of them. The bottling line is unbelievable. There were 2 dudes like sweeping the floor. Like if a bottle were to escape and smash and whatever, then they go sweep it up or whatever. Like it was crazy. Even the machine that folded, there was the flat boxes would come through and it'd go burp, 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 and it would fold the boxes and then it would load up the boxes. And
sounds like a boring place to work.
But you got to drink beer while you were there. So,
well, yeah. That's the other thing about the local brewery. Like the head brewer is probably putting bottles in a 6-pack holder at the end of that little tiny line. You know what I mean? Like you're doing all the jobs.
Yep.
Probably not, other than the science part. You're not using the computer probably too much, but
yeah. You're using the microscope and doing the, making sure your yeast strains are good still, and
sure.
and all that business. But yeah, you're right. He's probably loading up the 4-packs of these or whatever. Yeah, there's 4-packs.
Yep, putting them on the rings and all that stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, speaking of rings, let's talk about Stan the Man. This is the part where I will prove to you if this player was on your team, Rich, you'd probably have his number tattooed on your body.
Yep.
I mean, you'll see how he's probably one of the most, if not the most underrated, great baseball player that's ever played the game.
Listen, I know, I get it. Next to like Ted Williams, dude was probably one of the best hitters of all time in baseball.
Yeah.
Right. I completely understand. Doesn't make me like the team anymore.
All right. Well, I'm going to get into some of his actual creds, his stat stuff. I didn't go too nerdy. I didn't want to lose Dolan or anybody that's not into baseball like we are, because this would have been very easy to nerd out. So I pumped the brakes, and then I just have some life stuff about him that I thought was really cool. One of my favorite things when I was a kid to read about was like old baseball players. Read a lot of biographies and stuff. I don't know why. I just did. So I pulled out some of the information that I thought was interesting that we can kind of talk about and really humanize this dude so that you'll love him. This is all for you, Rich. So he lived to be 92 years old, and he passed away from complications with Alzheimer's. He was married for 72 years.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Wow.
So that means he got married at like 19 or 20 years old.
20 years old, yeah.
In the minor leagues. Got married, and then all the way up until the 2000s, he was married. He played in 1941. That was the first time he came up to the big leagues. He was originally a pitcher, and not unlike Rick Ankiel, he didn't have any control. He couldn't throw. He couldn't get over the mound. So they said, why don't you try outfield? And he's like, okay, I'll try it. Makes it to the big squad, 1941. Plays in there from 1941 to 1944. He wins 2 World Series during that time, 41 and 44, I believe. And then in 1945, like a lot of baseball players did, he enlisted in the military during World War II, and he joined the Navy. And he was somebody that brought out ships or like little tugboats kind of in Pearl Harbor. So when other ships would come in, he would go get supplies and stuff and bring it back to the mainland. And then after that for a while, then he was put in Philadelphia, like some shipyard place where they were building boats or something. And he was in the Navy for about a year. And then he came back in 1946, and he played all the way through 1963. So that's a pretty long career, especially
long
being
career.
in the National League. There's no DH. So he's playing. He has to play every day.
Yep.
He doesn't just get to sit on the bench. His career numbers, these are crazy for me. So his batting average for his whole career is .331. That's pretty good.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, you're talking he's in his mid-40s when he retires. He had at the time the National League record for hits when he retired. He had 3,630. This is one of those Jason Stark story pieces where they're like the weird things about baseball. He had the same number of hits on the road as he did at home. So 1815 at home and 1815 on the road. Isn't that crazy?
That's unbelievable.
Like you almost have to be like, oh, I got it? Okay, I quit today.
I would never have believed that. If that were like a trivia question, I would have said absolutely not.
Well, now it is. So next time you're at the bar talking about old Stan, you'll know that.
Which we never, but okay.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, maybe if I'm in St. Louis. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. 1,951 RBIs, 725 doubles, 475 home runs. He was a 7-time batting champion, which is pretty good. 24 All-Star games, which is the all-time record, tied with
Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron and?
Give me a second. Ted Williams.
Willie Mays.
Oh, gosh darn it. Okay.
Willie Mays.
Okay.
That's a long time. I think
that's
he won.
By the way, that is a fantastic little group to be in, by the way. That's a good club.
His last one, I think he ended up the last year he played, he started out the season at like 213 batting average, and he got it up to 288 at the time of the voting, and then he got voted in and that was his last year, so he made it. But
Hmm.
I think the lowest RBI total for his career, like in a season, was 71, and that was towards the end of his life.
Wow.
Okay, so for the non-baseball nerds,
Yes.
when you say batting average and you say, those numbers, what is that?
So batting average is like the percentage of the time you get up, you get a hit. So you get to get on base or you hit a home run.
Okay.
So a good batting average is 250. So 1 out of every 4 times you get a hit. If you get 1 hit a game, you usually get 4 at-bats a game, usually. And if you can get 1 hit out of those 4, that's a 250 batting average. That's pretty good. So 300 average is even better. And 331 is like 1/3 of the time this guy was getting a hit. That's why he has the record for hits as a player until Pete Rose beat it, because he was getting a hit every 3 times, basically.
Gotcha. And
which
so
is pretty unprecedented. Most of the players nowadays, hardly anybody even gets to 300 now. So
gotcha.
Yeah, you'll hear that out there. Like, okay, so if you bat 300, you're a Hall of Famer. So if you get a hit 3 out of 10 times, 3 out of 10 times at the plate, you get a hit, then you're a Hall of Famer in baseball. Like, that's how difficult.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's interesting because most of the time you fail. And then if you are 30% successful, that's good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. So that just shows how tough hitting is. And for this guy to do it for 25 years, basically, is crazy. There's been thousands and thousands and thousands of players since this time. And he's still up there with one of the best. And that's 70 years ago.
Wow.
So I think he won 3 or 4 World Series MVPs. I wrote down, that's all I'll talk about for his baseball stuff, because everything, it's pretty self-explanatory on that. But then I picked out some of the interesting like life facts for him. 1946, he won the MVP right after he came back from World War II. So he just jumped out of the Navy and then was the best baseball player. So that's pretty cool. In 1956, kind of towards the end of his career, but not quite. He still had a few years left. The manager, who at the time, they didn't really have GMs like we do now. So the manager of the team was working on maybe trading him. And the owner, who was Gussie Busch, or Bush, B-U-S-C-H, heard about it. And he was like, this guy is not available. No trade clause. Bloom. You'll never trade Stan Musial from the Cardinals. So he overrode the manager. And then I think the manager maybe left after that year because that was like, oh, whoops, can't do that. So I'm out of here. President Kennedy, well, before he was president, Senator Kennedy came up to Stan and said, hey, man, I would really like it. It would be really helpful to me if you would, back me a little bit and like give me a little pub. Because, Stan Musial at that time, early 60s to mid 60s, influential person, especially in the Midwest, and having him support you publicly was a big deal. And that's one of the things that they say helped gather support in the Midwest for Kennedy, which was not really a Republican area, or Democrat area, I should say. It was more Republican at that time. He was President Lyndon Johnson. So we're talking in the 60s after he retired. He was Lyndon Johnson's, what did I write down? Physical fitness advisor. So he basically was like showing the president and the America as a country, like why physical fitness was important. And the reason that was important to him was one of the seasons he had towards the end of his career. He was doing real bad. He was out of shape. He had a clause in his contract where he could basically show up to the end of spring training. He's like, hey, I'm 41. Whatever, I've carried this team. I'm just going to show up when I want to. And that didn't work out. He wasn't in shape, and he realized it. And then by the end of the season, he was in shape. He'd lost like 20 pounds, and his numbers were normal. So he realized the importance of being physically fit, and got this like honorary position, I guess. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a job that he went to all the time, but he'd just go around and talk about why physical fitness was important in the 60s. So he could have showed up probably to your school if you were in St. Louis, or he was from Pennsylvania. So maybe in that area too, he would have come and talked to you about why you should, try in gym class. He was known for his harmonica playing. This was something interesting I did not know. He recorded 18 songs, and you could get those along with a harmonica and a book on how to learn those songs. So then you would teach yourself how to play harmonica. And he said it's because, as a minor leaguer riding the bus, or even in the major leagues, you're riding a bus back then, had a lot of time. And that was just something that he could do on his own, and he picked it up, and he actually was pretty good at it. So he recorded songs with some famous people backing instrumentation stuff, but he always played it. He played the national anthem a few times at baseball games with the harmonica. So he was kind of like known for that, which is, I don't know. That seems like you'd get beat up nowadays if you were an athlete and harmonica player.
I'm just thinking like I don't even know. Bryce Harper shows up with his
slide whistle or kazoo or flute.
Ukulele or whatever. He's like, I'm gonna play the national anthem before I go play 9 innings or whatever.
Yep.
Like, that's weird.
But that's what he did. He also had a bunch of restaurants. He had some friends that were in the industry, and he opened up a bunch of restaurants, and those were around in St. Louis for like 25, 30 years. It sounded like he got a lot of endorsements, and he was really famous at that time. And if he was in business with you, then he was known to be like, just the best business person and like your friend forever. Like he always had your back and stuff. He learned about smoke, like how bad smoking was for you in the 50s, and like denied any money from endorsements for smoking. Cause back then, I mean, that's what baseball cards were, was in just packs of cigarettes. Like when Babe Ruth came up, that's how you got baseball cards. They were in tobacco cards, and
even before that, yeah.
Pictures of, even up into the 50s and 60s, you'll see in magazines and stuff, like Mickey Mantle smoking a cigarette. And he's like, hey, I love cool cigarette or whatever. You know what I mean? So that was a big money maker. It was I think on I Love Lucy, they sponsored, like everything was tobacco sponsored. Mm-hmm. And he found out like, oh, this is bad for me and could cause cancer. He quit smoking and just wouldn't ever do any advertisements for them.
Do you think Mick smoked Cools, or do you think he was more like a Marlboro man?
He was a Lucky Strikes back in the day.
Yeah, you're probably
back
right.
in the day. He was a Lucky Strikes.
Yep.
In 2007, he was awarded the Navy's Lone Sailor Award. So that's for somebody that goes on and lives an exemplary life as a civilian. So outside of the military, he's still doing a lot for people in the community. And then in 2011, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Obama, which is the highest civilian honor you can get in this United States. So not a whole lot of athletes have gotten that, but he is one of the ones that did. So that's what I've got for you about Stan Musial.
It took every fiber of my being not to just say like when the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Ernie Banks got that too from the Cubs. I'm just saying. I don't know if we want to look at Dolan yawning. He doesn't want to hear any more baseball. So.
Well,
but I don't want to be that Cubs fan like, oh, Ernie Banks did it.
Well, you just did. So
I just did. Okay, you're right. I get it. The dude was arguably like if you made a top 10 like of hitters, of all time, like he is in the top 10. I get it.
Yeah,
like that dude was he was unbelievable.
So in the beginning of his career, it sounded like he was trying to hit a lot of home runs. At first, after he came back from the Navy, he was trying to hit home runs, and he wasn't doing it. So then they changed his batting stance, and he just went back to being a hitter and not trying to be a power hitter. And because of that, he has like a really weird looking batting stance, but it's also very recognizable as him. And you'll see it in baseball, like video games. I remember playing games when I was a kid in like the early 90s that weren't sanctioned by the MLBA or whatever. So like you couldn't have real baseball player names, but you'd be like, oh, that's Stan Musial's batting stance on that guy right there.
Right.
So just because of the way he, tried to change his approach at the plate, his stance was weird, and it was like kind of one of a kind. There's a few of them out there in baseball,
Who was he's the manager for the Brewers right now. What was his name? Played for the Craig Counsell.
Craig Counsell, yeah.
Yeah. His was probably one of the weirdest. But then you look at like guys like Tony Gwynn. Remember Tony Gwynn's stance?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
That was not normal ish either, right?
Yeah, he had a weird one. I remember like Gary Sheffield had the bat that moved back and forth.
Oh, he was always just going crazy with his bat.
Remember Mo Vaughn? He had a crazy one. Cecil Fielder, like there's, all the names. But this is the part where Dolan can come alive. I want to talk about other famous Stans or Mans. So Stan is a name or man.
Oh, gotcha.
I got a little list.
The man, right?
Yep. I got a little list of them, and then you just hit me with your thoughts on them. First one, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
I love to hate that guy.
Can you hate him?
Yeah, because I'm a Chiefs fan, and he came over to the Broncos and they won a Super Bowl. And which hurt the most, my wife was a big Peyton Manning fan, so she became a Broncos fan because he went to there. So there's actually a Broncos jersey in my closet right now in my house.
Ooh,
I hate it every time I walk by.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yikes.
not good.
Mm.
How about this one? Mannheim Steamroller from Omaha.
The orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're kind of like a new wave, not a new wave. What's the term I'm looking for? New age.
New age? Yeah.
Band.
Yeah.
Which became famous now for Christmas music, but they were making albums all the way back in the 60s, old Chip Davis. And has a Halloween album even, I think.
How do you feel about he has a baseball album too, by the way.
Oh, really?
How do you feel about the Mannheim Steamroller versus Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Oh, I'm Mannheim all day.
Yeah, I am too.
I haven't listened to Mannheim enough to have an opinion about that.
It's exactly what you want 1982 synthesizers to sound like.
100%.
That's what they were using.
Yes.
And the guy that is the head of it, Chip Davis, was really a pioneer of synthesizer music.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that stuff is super dated, but it sounds like that. So if you're in the mood for some 80s, like 84 Christmas tunes on a synthesizer that no one, could even lift, that's where you...
In my head, like at least two of the dudes doing backup are playing guitars.
Oh, it's so good.
I hope that's in my head. That's what's happening. So
I am like, I would guess acquaintances with the drummer for Mannheim. So when they go out and tour, this guy plays the drums. So every Christmas right after Thanksgiving, he goes out on this big month, 6-week tour, and they play like shows or sometimes 2 shows a day all around. And his dad used to have the gig, I think, before he did, or he was like the conductor of the orchestra or something. But it's kind of fun to be connected in Facebook land with him, because I get to see all these. He'll have these cool pictures of like the band being set up in this old theater in like Milwaukee or whatever. It's just kind of neat to see that from his perspective. I wrote down another. I had a hard time with man, so I just wrote Manny Ramirez. Another baseball player. So my favorite thing about Manny Ramirez was when he cut off the cutoff throw. You remember that?
Yes.
Johnny Damon, or he throws it in, he grabbed it and fell down and threw it from his knees. Oh gosh, that was so good.
Manny was great. He was
when he went into pee in the wall.
Yes.
That
when he he had the don't they still call it the Manny door? I think it's still
I think so.
It's still called that. Yeah.
Now let's get into some Stans. Stan Lee, of course. First one. Right?
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
I mean, that dude, his imagination is unbelievable, and his passion, pretty cool, man. Like, to be so excited about something for your whole life.
And I don't want to get off on a weird tangent. You know how it all started, right? Like he was working for Timely Comics at the time. And Timely Comics they were doing war comics and that just that type of thing, romance and stuff. And he went home
because comics were like for adults back then, right?
Yeah, kind of. And he told his wife, he's like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to write this. I don't want to write romance stories. I'm tired of writing war stories. I want to do what I want to do. And he was young at the time, and his wife was like, just go do it then, because you're young, and if you don't do it now, you're gonna regret it. And what else? You can always go write stories someplace else or whatever. Just go do it. And so then he went and he wrote the Fantastic Four, and he took it to the editors there it was Timely Comics. Then it was called Atlas Comics for a while. No joke.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually called Atlas Comics.
Some behind you on the wall, isn't it?
Yeah, you got some hanging right behind you.
Yeah. And then he said, I can't do anything with Atlas, which is funny. I actually have that quote somewhere. I can't do anything with Atlas, but I can do something with Marvel. So I want to change it to Marvel Comics, and I want to write superheroes like Superman and that type of thing. But I want to do it like real life, like they're real people. And the editor's like, I don't give a shit what you do. You can do whatever you want. Sell books.
Just make
sell
money.
books.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make money or whatever. And that's how him and Jack Kirby. That's how it kind of all started.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How about this one? I don't know if you'll be familiar with this or not. Maybe you will, Rich. Flat Stanley.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Dolan, do you know about Flat Stanley?
I'm Googling it right now. Flat Stanley?
Yeah. So it's like a piece of paper that's cut out like a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, what do you mail it or send it to people? You have people take pictures with it? Is that the gist?
The internet sensation, right?
Yeah, yeah. Not a whole lot of stands out there.
Mm-hmm.
How about this one? One of my favorites. Stuttering Stanley, Stuttering Stanley. Yeah, right?
Yep. I remember that
movie.
Yep.
And then lastly, as Dolan's researching Flat Stanley, my favorite Stan, Dorothy's ex-husband from the Golden Girls. He was the butt of all the jokes when he was on the episode. And he always had a really bad toupee. And he was real cheap. And he was like a scummy landlord. What do you call those?
A slumlord?
A slumlord.
Yeah.
He was a slumlord. And he was always trying to get back with Dorothy. And, oh, God, he was so great. That's my favorite Stan.
Was he great like in a Mr. Furley kind of way? Or?
Well, Mr. Furley was dumb. But so was this Stan, I guess.
Okay.
But this Stan was like a slime ball. He was like actively trying to screw people over. And he always had back in the 80s, you'd call them bimbos.
Yeah.
That's not a term we use anymore so much. But back in the 80s on TV, you did.
I think you could bring that term back, actually. It's kind of a fun.
I think so,
fun.
too.
The 80s were a long time ago, though. So don't
they were
close to being alive.
But the Golden Girls lives on. So that's what I've got for us today, fellers. Let's get into this. What do you think about the beer?
Well, I'm done.
Mine is almost done too. It would be done if I didn't talk so much.
I'll tell you, it's exactly what. Like I told you, what I didn't want it to be. I didn't want it to be delicious. I didn't want it to be crisp and clean and just completely crushable. And it was all of those things.
It's one of the better lagers I've had.
Yeah, it's super good.
It is just a good. Like Dolan hit it on the head. If we were at a baseball game, I would order 100 of these
in St. Louis, and it's like 95 degrees. Oh gosh,
I've been there. I've been there.
That's
and
terrible.
I no matter how much I hate that team and I hate everything about them, Busch Stadium is beautiful, and the people of St. Louis have always been okay. Always, I get called a lot of names when I'm wearing my Cubs gear. Sure. I get it. That's what happens. Have always been welcoming and friendly and kind, and the business owners have been kind. We've spent so much time in St. Louis, especially like over the past 10 years. And every time we go to a Cardinals game, Busch Stadium is one of the premier venues to see a baseball game. I don't deny that whatsoever.
They always say the fans are really knowledgeable about baseball. You know,
they
know the little rules and stuff.
Yeah, they're stupid. I don't like them, but that's true. That's
you've never been stabbed. That's good too.
Right. I've been called really bad names, like homophobic names, like for whatever reason. I don't know why they got to go there, but you know what? Who cares? It doesn't matter. We're having fun, and I'm spending money in their town, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, some of the best times I've ever had at a baseball game have been at Busch Stadium, Cubs Cardinals games. We sit on the visitor side, and so on the visitor side, the visitor side's third base side, and the sun is just right there the whole time. So you're just baking.
Yeah.
And we baking in the sun, right? Not like in Colorado South.
Not a Rockies game.
Right. And we have drank. There was one game where me and Corey Anderson was there. Corey Anderson, Atlas recruiter, was there with me. Took a couple travelers, and we sat there on the third baseline right by the dugout. The vendor that went up and down that section, we drank him out of Budweiser and Bud Light. we had to drink Bud Light Lime at the end. Like,
and you were okay with that, probably.
I was fine with that.
Yeah.
Corey was like, "This is gross," but we drank like 4
You're
more.
like, yeah, whatever.
But
Yeah.
it was so hot. Like,
Yeah.
and we got out of the game. We're like, "Look, I don't feel anything." Like, we sweated out. We were probably gross and sweaty and.
Yeah, and you
Whatever.
spend like $1,000, but whatever.
But yeah, but here's the deal: like the whole row, even though we were Cardinals fans, what did I just say?
What?
What the hell?
I hope you keep that in, Dolan. Keep that in.
Right? That's horrible. Nolan never ever use that.
That's
use
going to
that
be
for
in the end
the
of
header.
the year Christmas video.
Even though we were Cubs fans sitting with Cardinals fans, like we'd buy beers for them, they'd buy beers for us. Like it was just, we just loved it and we had fun. It's a beautiful stadium in a great part of town with some great local businesses. One of the best oyster bars I've ever been to is 2 blocks down. If you go out if you go out center field, 2 blocks down, it's called Broadway Oyster Bar. It is a dive of dives, man.
Yeah.
And then right behind it, there's a Husker bar, which is super weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
But yeah, it is the diviest of diveists, and they make some fantastic oysters, and we drink a lot of beers there.
That sounds fun. I'm ready to get out of my basement.
Yeah.
I want to go somewhere.
We were supposed to go to St. Louis in May and watch a game and
Dang.
do the whole thing, and clearly that never happened. So, yeah.
Only thing I'm watching right now is my neighbor's picking up dog poop in her backyard. Right now, literally right now. Bummer.
You could boo him. I mean, that's fine. I mean, you could.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, cheer him on. Just, you got this.
Go stand out there and drink the rest of this beer.
As a Royals fan, how do you feel about the Cardinals, Brian? Because
we cheated them out of a World Series.
Yeah, there you go.
Fine, but we still had to win Game 7.
Yep.
We did. So
Yep.
that doesn't matter. That doesn't bother me.
Thank you, Brett Superhagen.
Yeah, I mean he was dominant that year.
Yeah, he was.
That was my first baseball memory was that World Series. So I have Cardinals in my DNA, I guess, and it's what the I-70 series, is that what they call it?
I-70, yep.
And they play against each other. So it's kind of fun to have another rival, I guess, kind of National League rival.
Yeah.
I've always liked the Cardinals uniforms. They're classic and they haven't really changed. My father-in-law was a huge Bob Gibson fan when he was a kid because Bob Gibson was from Omaha and made it and was like just the best pitcher probably in the 60s and 70s. Like his ERA record was like 1.69 or 49.
This could very easily be called Bob Gibson, right? I mean, that dude was unbelievable.
I mean, they had to change the mound because of Bob Gibson, So like, it's kind of in my background periphery of Cardinal stuff, but I don't ever really root for him or anything. I was like you, also a WGN kid, and I was more of a Sean Dunston than an Ozzie Smith.
You can't deny Ozzie Smith, man. Great
wizard.
Yeah, great. And then some of those characters from the mid to early 80s, Willie McGee and Vince Coleman and like that.
Andy Van Slyke, I remember him playing there. And
God, I hated all of them.
Yeah.
So much. But you can't deny how good they were. Like they won for a reason.
Jack Clark, remember him? Yeah.
You understand? You know why pitchers talk with their gloves over their face to the catchers, right?
Why?
Jack Clark could read lips.
Really?
Yeah. So Greg Maddux, when he was with the Braves, figured out that Jack Clark could read lips. And so he's the first one that started covering his mouth when he would talk to his catcher.
Now everybody does.
And now everybody does because Jack Clark could read lips.
And now they just read you with a video camera and then they bang on a trash can.
Which is coming, by the way. We got some of that beer.
Did you really?
Oh, wow.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Nice.
One of our travelers out in New Jersey got us that beer. So in the next couple of weeks, we have the trash can banger.
Nice.
Beer coming. I can't.
Maybe baseball will start by then.
Maybe.
Or
I hope.
They're going to cancel the whole season. Who knows?
I hate that you would even say that.
I'm scared. I'm just reading between the lines.
I know. So, all right, let's check the Untapped on this one. So I already I cheated. I looked already. See the ABV. Only 661 check-ins, but this just came out back in May.
Oh, wow.
So
This is
not
fresh.
not very many yet. I didn't see a born on date. Wait a minute. Stan the Man, 3/4/20. Wow, this was one of the first that rolled off the line. Right?
I like that it says Stan the Man on the bottom. That's cool.
Stan the Man. Okay, so March. Those came out in March. Wow. Okay, 661 check-ins. What do you say?
Well, I'm going to go with his batting average, and it's going to be 3.31.
3.7.
Whoa! Hall of Fame.
I'm entering my my comment right here. I hate the Cardinals, but I love this beer.
That's classy.
But I love this beer. Save. Okay, so hang on, I got to get to it. This is riveting. This is riveting. Gosh darn it!
Fatty fingers it, huh?
Technology is failing me here. Jeez, come on. Why can't I get back to this? Here we go. Damn it. 3.71.
Oh,
Dolan. So close.
Close. 371. So, yep. Which, if he hit 371 in a series, in a season, I wouldn't be surprised. I bet you he probably hit 371 at least once or twice. Probably
to have that career average the way he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, next week we will redeem ourselves and talk about a brewery in Chicago. This was by design, obviously.
Spoilers, I didn't get into any Cubs information.
I did, though.
Oh, God.
I did. Because I did. Because we did. But yeah, this was like I said, I wanted to hate it. It's not. Urban Chestnut did a hell of a job with this. This was a classic American lager. It was good.
Yeah, super clean.
Yeah. Yes, it was. So, all right, Brian, we're not going anywhere for a while.
Let's have another beer.
Thank you for listening to A Beer with Atlas. Special thanks to our brand team for producing the show. Each episode of A Beer with Atlas is powered by Atlas MedStaff, an industry leader in travel healthcare staffing.